Our first guest's career path veered dramatically when, at 10 years old, she realized that being a vet would mean she'd have to put animals to sleep. Inspired by her cartoon idol, the savvy red-headed reporter Brenda Starr, she decided to become a writer instead. With gusto, she carved out her first job: founder, reporter, editor, designer, and salesperson for the Claremont Review, named after the Chicago street she called home. That childhood experience shaped her professional career as a reporter for daily newspapers, the legendary City News Bureau, and Chicago's agricultural and financial markets. She founded Crooked Door Storytelling in 2011 and currently defines herself as a storyteller, teaching artist, essayist, and fiction writer. She finds her inspiration from seemingly everyday moments and the roads she's traveled in the world. Please welcome Genevieve Waller. We have some stragglers. Feel free to take spots up here. They're free. Also, while Genevieve is coming up, feel free also to grab beer in the middle of things. You're not interrupting at all. No, really.
Thank you very much. This is called, it's an essay I've written, the title's inspired by some writing by the naturalist and writer Diane Ackerman, and it is called A Small Part of One's Address, 4 mostly true vignettes on urban nature. It is easy for the hardened city dweller to ignore nature's daily presence and the valuable lessons its various creatures teach about who we are and how we live together. But one can learn. Lesson 1, innocence. When the flower child of the block rings your doorbell at 7 a.m. on a Monday in early spring, think twice before answering. Know that you are going to be waylaid in some very meaningful way having to do with nature. She is a lovely girl of 12, and creatures great and small sense her as marvelous and fascinating as she does them. But her overriding concern for her latest living thing this morning is something you are ill-equipped to handle amid the rush to get out the door and into your own day. Answer the bell. When she asks you to save the baby bird that she has just rescued from a window pane collision, scurry into your arts and crafts supplies bunker and find a child-sized shoebox to contain the little creature. After all, you are a grown-up. Someone who knows what to do. With some air of authority, toss in wet leaves and punch holes in the cardboard box. Placate her, but opine that the bird really should stay out of the shoebox, righting itself from the collision naturally, and perhaps finding its own way back to its mother. The bird seems to echo this view, hopping out of the box each time the little girl grabs hold of him and places him back in. Before she continues her walk to the school bus, the flower child pleads with you to go online and find information about the care of wounded baby birds. She thinks it's a woodpecker. You're positive it's a goldfinch, but do not argue these finer points. Agree to her entreaties and make a mental note that you will tend to the bird when you pause from your busy schedule. Get home an hour later, peek into the shoebox, and observe quickly, with dread, that the little bird is clearly dead. Spindly legs curled under a puffed-out yellow breast, a brown-black eye fixed on some point of the cardboard box with a glassy stare. A victim of shock or injury or cold. You will never know. But keep your promise. Look up the information and then spend the day playing a Dr. Frankenstein of sorts, going through what grief experts say is the first stage, denial. Move the bird into a new child-sized shoebox, propping it up gently on facial tissues as instructed, and as you should have done in the first place. Wet leaves on a cold, windy day? What were you thinking? Move the box to a quiet, dark place near the space heater, turned up to high, and wait. Let your inner 12-year-old flower child believe a miracle could happen. Eventually realize a miracle is not forthcoming, despite the faint and irrational hope that flickers each time you take the top off the box in those first few hours. Comfort yourself by thinking that you promised to look up information and not cure or resurrect the bird. But feel just a little guilty anyway that you let Mother Nature down regarding the care of one of her creatures. Think about what to tell the flower child when she comes to your door after the bus ride home. The flower child does not stop by until several days later. And by this time you have buried the bird yourself in a silent backyard ceremony near the oak leaf hydrangea, with you the officiant and sole mourner. Do not be hurt by her absence, and do not be angry with her. Her behavior confuses you, but remember, she is also a small creature, vacillating between expectation and whim. She is like a baby bird herself, as you once were too, driven largely by unthinking instinct and reckless action, and ultimately at the mercy of the grown-up's world. Lesson 2, the opportunists. The small, talkative, red-headed girl is the first person to ring your doorbell the day after you move into your house. Excited and unself-conscious, she chatters on about herself, her family, and your new home's prior residents. Preoccupied by the mess and chaos that surround you, you only half listen to her, smiling and nodding until she squeals. And then there are the baby raccoons. They were born underneath your front porch this summer, you know. They were so cute. You did not know. You've never spent much time thinking of raccoons because raccoons didn't climb to the 3rd floor of the condo building where you previously lived. You feel yourself grimace as you begin to wonder if raccoons under the porch is the kind of information a home seller is legally obliged to disclose, like flooding or fire or asbestos. 3 months into your new home, your dirty, dangerous, destructive, unwanted roommates finally make their presence known. The raccoon family resides in the enclosed roof above your front porch, and like you, they use this space to live out the dimensions of their domestic lives. Eating, sleeping, relaxing, having sex, raising a family, fighting, leaving for work on the night shift, and coming home in the early morning hours. When they are unbearably noisy, you pound and yell at them through the thin plaster wall. You go away for a weekend and blast the hardest, shreddingest rock station you can find on the dial. You wonder if the U.S. soldiers who use these tactics half a world away to flush terrorists from their mountain hideouts ever meet with success, because you do not. And then, on the hot summer morning you prepare to leave town with your family for a few days, a rank smell emanating from the front porch reaches your nostrils. The last thing you want to return to is a nest of flies swarming a decomposing body somewhere around your porch, and an odor like a strong gas leak that pervades several houses away and alarms your crotchety old neighbor, as it has once before. So you convince your husband to tear into the underside of the porch roof with a crowbar. Based on the findings, no body, but a thick layer of feces decades old, wood so stained and infused with urine that even the junk men do not take it away when you tear it down and place it in the alley. You build a new beadboard underside to the front porch. The woodworkers seal the corners tightly. Paid a little extra, they wind thick layers of chicken wire around the base of the porch where it meets the ground to prevent the raccoons from gaining access again to their former living quarters. You have finally evicted your unwanted tenants. Then, on a glorious spring morning, your quiet, kind neighbor mentions in a murmur that as he was coming back from his sunrise bike ride, he spied 6 raccoons, a mother and her brood perhaps, crawling into the space above your back porch. They have taken advantage of the very small, previously unnoticed by humans, hole in that roof, a roof 1/4 the size of your front porch roof. From the start, this has been a complicated, frustrating relationship with some of the most cunning urban creatures in existence. You realize that you never told the little girl next door that her joyous news of raccoons did not delight you in the least. She moved away years ago. You still miss her very much. The raccoons, who have never been welcome here, remain a significant part of your life, and you must learn to live together. Lesson 3, Travelers. Once you sat alone next to the hut on the funerary rock among the mind-boggling Andean setting that is Machu Picchu. Young and unattached to a job, a partner, family responsibilities, and community expectations, far away from middle age, you had time to wonder what you were doing with your life, how you would shape and be shaped by whatever came next. Then movement caught your eye, and despite the sense that you were at the top of the world, there was wonderingly more sky to see, so you looked upward. Birds, different shapes, sizes, colors, speeds, all elegant and graceful, circled the hut and the rest of the settlement ruins. You decided that even if you weren't sure what would happen in this life, in your next life, you would return as a bird. But what kind of bird? 15 years passed since you rode a rickety bus from Machu Picchu, crisscrossing down the Peruvian mountainside and contemplating that question. Pleasant surprises and plentiful disappointments have filled much of the space in that time, and now you are at a summer block party down your street, far removed from your young life. The neighbor, who always makes the celebration interesting, has asked his friend, an expert on peregrine falcons, to make a presentation. She has brought cases filled with taxidermy peregrines to the block. She lays the birds out on a covered picnic table, cautions onlookers to stroke them gently but do not handle them, and provides the small audience with a wealth of information about these predators. Her thorough knowledge, while better suited to a museum tour or a university lecture hall, fascinates you. When she is finished and begins to pack up, you are the only one to linger, asking questions while the children return to the bounce house and the adults approach various coolers for more beer. You learn that peregrines live throughout your city, in fact, just down your street, because they love the high perches and easy food sources that the tall buildings provide. But you also learn that peregrines are impressive world travelers. Their name means pilgrim, wanderer. They live and breed and winter in many spots throughout the world, places that you've always hoped to see one day if fate and fortune allow. Above all things, you want to see the world's nooks and crannies. You want to follow coastlines and mountainsides, making your way over the surfaces and across the skies of the planet. And because you know you'll be back, you just haven't quite gotten this life right yet. You finally have your answer. You will be a peregrine falcon. Lesson 4, the misfit. You arrive home one afternoon and see a large lone deer, head angled down, antlers pointing forward, by turns picking his way among the parallel parked cars, running next to front stoops, and straining to see down gangways. Amused and startled, you join the throng of people gathered along the sidewalks to watch the deer struggle in its confusion and fear. You learn that the neighbor who lives in the house kitty corner from yours, the one with the double lot surrounded by a wrought iron fence, looked out her kitchen window at 8 a.m. and saw the deer grazing among the bushes in her large backyard. She immediately called Animal Care and Control to have someone collect it, perhaps return it to the forest preserves several miles away. It is now 3:30. After several additional phone calls to Animal Care and Control, which is so adept at collecting rats, mice, opossum, raccoons, crows, squirrels, stray dogs, feral cats, its agents confess that they have no idea how to handle a deer. And finally, the streetwise feline who lives with the nearby family approaches the deer, bares his teeth, and with a wild hiss, terrifies the deer northward, never to be seen again. You like to complain that living in your sophisticated, gritty city is isolating, even more so during its long Midwestern winters. But spring is coming, someday, and you will again encounter creatures that you haven't seen, heard, or thought of for many cold months. Take a moment and realize we are all hurt and uplifted by life. We each, in our own way, search for sustenance, survival, home, and understanding. Every one of us has felt clumsily misplaced in our surroundings and has longed to be somewhere else. When you look around your city street as it comes back to life, it is plain to see that whether we walk, run, crawl, climb, or fly, we are all innocents, opportunists, travelers, and misfits, living on a planet more spectacular than we can imagine and more interwoven than we allow ourselves to comprehend.